If you read through the comments on my channel, you might see huge differences in sound quality ratings of the same digital player. In this video I will give my view on this. And to do so I will go back in time and shine a light on my digital audio history. When I started experimenting with network audio players about 22 years ago, I wasn't exactly impressed with the sound quality. The first network player I tested was the Philips SL400i. It was based on DLNA, could not play MP3s, the format of the devil back then, but also did video. As audio player it had a very high level of jitter and sounded disastrous. The next one I reviewed was the Roku Soundbridge M1000. Audio only this time, but equally bad sounding. Then Apple had a network bridge integrated in their airport Wi-Fi access point. A cheap switch mode power supply and Wi-Fi very close to a digital optical output and probably a poor quality clock crystal were guaranteed to ruin any possible sound quality. Plus it could only be used with Apple's music player iTunes, that then used 128 kilobit AAC. Only if you ripped the CDs yourself, 256 kilobits AAC and AIFF could be used. A new company called Slim Devices introduced the Slim 3 network player, and again the sound quality was quite disappointing. Where it really started for me was with the Slim Devices Squeeze box. At that time I was rather enthusiastic about the sound quality, but the server software that had to run on a computer was not really ideal. The sound quality further improved when S-Booster introduced their linear power supply for the Squeeze box. Then out of the blue Sonos came to market, not only with the plastic Wi-Fi speakers, but also with a Connect network player that could be connected to a proper stereo. It was a dream to install and to use, but produced a lower sound quality than the Squeeze box. There was an optional remote control that costed about as much as an iPod Touch. A short time later an app for the iPod Touch replaced it and the remote became end of life. Several companies all over the world modified the Connect by improving the power supply, installing better clock crystals and so on. The result was shocking. Now the Connect sounded very good while all the advantages of the Sonos system remained. The limitation of maximum 48 kHz sampling wasn't too much of a problem back then. In the Netherlands Magna Hi-Fi still does this modification for €400. Suddenly, at last to me, 8 years ago, two affordable network bridges, Annex streamers, showed me that networked audio again could be better. The Sonore Micro Rendu and the SOTM SMS200. You'll find my reviews on YouTube by typing Beekhuizen and the name of the device. Or go to the description for a link. Music reproduction over the network from a computer or NAS became an attractive option. In my case the SOTM SMS200 Ultra Neo followed up the SMS200. Then came the Auralic Aries G2, the Grim Audio Mu 1 and finally the Grim Audio Mu 2. And every time I was truly amazed by the improvement in sound quality. Today I have a number of network players next to the Mu 2 as reference for more affordable network players. See my video about my reference setups as per March 2024. Links at the usual places. An updated version will be published within a few weeks. There's a trend to use network players with an internal DAC connected to an external DAC. Often a cheaper network player is used, connected to a more expensive DAC. I assume the reasoning behind this is that there will be no difference in sound quality between the network player of different prices, as only the digital part of the network player is being used. So that must be the reason why, when I upgraded my setup 1 over the last 10 years, the price of the streamer went up from €450 to €12,000. I hope you guys are familiar with the concept of sarcasm. I can assure you that the sound quality of a €1,500 network player connected to a €200 DAC is higher than the reverse. A combination of equally priced network player and DAC would sound even better, of course. Like in my setup 1B, where the Magnamano Ultra MK3.5 Farad is connected to the Holo Audio Cyan 2 over I2S using a short HDMI cable. If you want to see the development of my reference setups in YouTube, search for Beekhuizen about my reference setups. In many cases, the connection between the network player and the DAC will be over SPDIF coax or AES-EBU. It is important to use cables that are produced for the application. SPDIF normally uses RCA connectors, but not every RCA cable is suited. It needs to have an impedance of 75 ohms, not something you can normally see from the outside, except when it's labeled or has yellow RCA plugs. For also RCA cables for video are 75 ohms. AES-EBU uses XLR3 connectors, like used for balanced interconnects and microphone cables. But the cables need to have a specific impedance of 110 ohms. In all digital connections, if the impedance of the cable is wrong, the signal bounces back into the cable, creating jitter. The same goes for USB, where an impedance of 90 ohms is needed. But the USB connectors are not used for other applications, so the only reason the impedance could be wrong is if the manufacturer of the cables did not do their job properly. The same goes for HDMI cables that need to be 100 ohms. For the analog connections, cables have their influence too on the sound quality. See my video Why audiophile cables might sound better. Links at the usual places. My reference digital player 20 years ago was a TIAC VRDS-10 CD player with 10 Labs clock oscillators and the Young modifications. Although not too high-end, a rather well-respected player at that time. I can only explain my enthusiasm over the Squeezebox with S-booster power supply through the sound quality of my stereo at that time. An Arcam AVR 600 surround receiver as 2-channel preamp, 2 Musical Fidelity 550K supercharger power amps and Martin Logan Vista loudspeakers. Surely not a beginner stereo, but not too high-end either. Over time the setup changed to an Audionote Zorro SE tube amplifier modified by Audiomagic's Peter van Willeswaard and a pair of Audiophysics Scorpio loudspeakers. Differences between network players were clear, and it also became clear I needed more setups. So 2 other reference setups were chosen and kept up to date. Currently the last updates take place, and as soon as that's done, a new video presenting these setups will be posted. It is clear that a network player like the Wim Pro Plus functions great in my setup 3. The Eversolar DMP A6 with B-Technique LPS A6 linear power supply would fit more in my setup 2B, with the Bluesound Node as a more budget-friendly alternative and the Magnamano and Holo Audio Cyan 2 combination as ultimate alternative in this setup. I also use this combo in my setup 1B to compare other network players and DACs in that price category, although the rest of this setup is of higher class. But I don't have the space for more setups, and this is workable. In my setup 1A, the Grimm Audio Mu 2 is a digital music player. This setup is well balanced and too high-end. Although I have heard the same setup with the amp replaced by a pair of Halcro Eclipse mono amplifiers costing a staggering €73,000, and that sounded even more impressive. And with the €80,000 PMC Fenestrias as speakers, it sounded better again. Whether the improvements are worth considering depends on many factors, such as your appreciation for money, whether you have the space to place such large equipment, the opinion of the aesthetics committee, and so on. In my case, the bank manager and the aesthetics committee would protest. For someone with little experience, it's almost impossible to imagine how fantastic digital audio can sound. I can confirm this from my own experience. So when searching for experiences people have with equipment, always try to figure out what their references are. Someone with a Veeam Pro Plus network player is likely to find the Blue Sound Node very good sounding. Someone with the Magna and Cyan 2 combination might just have another opinion. And then there is the rest of the system used by the person whose opinion you read. I have seen a comment on a recent Cambridge Audio network player by someone that used Bose 501 loudspeakers from the 80s. Speakers I didn't took serious back then, let alone now. And even speakers that were legendary back then, in most cases perform poorly compared to today's products. Just like amplifier technology and turntable technology, speaker technology has clearly evolved over time. Not as fast as digital technology, but still significantly. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. There will be a new video next week, so subscribe to this channel or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn or Instagram to stay informed on when new videos are out. Help me reach even more people by giving this video a thumbs up or a link to this video on the social media. It is much appreciated. Many thanks to those viewers that support this channel financially. It keeps me independent and lets me improve the channel further. If that makes you feel like supporting my work too, the links are in the comments below this video on YouTube. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching and see you next week. And whatever you do, enjoy the music.